Hello, this is the 66th lecture of Revelation and World History. Last time, we finished the lectures on chapters 1 through 9 of Revelation and World History. Having completed both the first and middle sections of the 12-chapter lecture, we are now moving toward the conclusion. We covered very important themes in the interpretation of the book of Revelation. We examined the substantive identity of the two beasts, appearing in Revelation chapter 13. We also identified the figure corresponding to the beast with two horns like a lamb, namely, 666. And the community comprising the 144,000. Furthermore, we historically substantiated the relationship between Gog and Magog and Babylon. And we looked into history to find out what kind of war the Battle of Armageddon was. In this lecture, we will examine the restoration of the North Korean Church. Revelation and World History, Chapter 10, Section 2. The Union of the North and South. Let us examine the words of Ezekiel chapter 37. The word of the Lord came to me again, saying, Son of man, take one stick, and write on it, Judah and its companion, the people of Israel. Then, take another stick, and write on it, the stick of Ephraim, that is, Joseph and its companions, all the house of Israel. Join the sticks together, so that they become one, and in your hand, the two will become one. When your people say to you, will you not tell us what this means? Thus says the Lord God, I will take the stick of Joseph and its companions, the tribes of Israel, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and join it to the stick of Judah, so that they become one stick, and in my hand, they will become one. You shall take the written sticks in your hand, before the eyes of the multitude, and say to them, Thus says the Lord God, I will bring the people of Israel out of the many nations, where they have been taken captive. And I will gather them from all four sides, and bring them back to their own land. And, on all the mountains of Israel in that land, they will become one nation. I will make it so that one king will rule over them all. They shall no longer be two peoples, nor divided into two kingdoms. They shall no longer defile themselves with their idols, their abominable things, and all their sins. I will save them from all the places where they have sinned, and cleanse them. They shall be my people, and I shall be their God. My servant David shall be their king, and there shall be one shepherd for all of them. They shall observe my statutes, and keep my ordinances. They shall dwell in the land I gave to my servant Jacob, the land where his ancestors dwelt. They and their descendants shall dwell there forever, and my servant David shall be their king forever. I shall establish a covenant of peace with them, a covenant that will be everlasting. I shall make them secure and prosperous, and I shall set my sanctuary in their midst, which will last forever. My sanctuary shall be in their midst, and I shall be their God, and they shall be my people. My sanctuary will be among them forever. And the nations will know that I am the Lord, who sanctifies Israel. Ezekiel chapter 37 verses 15 to 28. These two nations and two lands are mine, and they shall be my inheritance, he said. But the Lord was there. Ezekiel chapter 35 verse 10. The two nations refer to northern Israel and southern Judah. This means that, once God judges the Kim Il-sung family of North Korea, the South and the North will become one again. They will form one nation in all the mountains of Israel, and one king will rule over them all. They will no longer be two nations, nor divided into two kingdoms. Ezekiel chapter 37 verse 22. The words of the prophetic book stating that it will not be divided into two nations clearly indicate the fact that South and North Korea will eventually be unified into one. Revelation and World History, Chapter 10, Section 3. The Restoration of the North Korean Church. Let us re-examine the words of Ezekiel chapter 37. The Lord came to me with power, and carried me by his Spirit, and set me in the middle of a valley, full of bones. He made me pass around the bones on all sides. And I saw that there were very many bones on the ground of the valley, and they were very bare. He said to me, Son of man, can these bones live? I answered, Lord, you know. Then he said to me, Prophesy to these bones and say, You dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Thus says the Lord God to these bones, I will put breath into you, and you will live. I will put sinews on you, and put flesh on you, and cover you with skin. And put breath into you, and you will live, and you will know that I am the Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a sound and a movement. And bone came together with bone, and the bones were joined together. Then I saw sinews on the bones, they came to life and flesh grew. And skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, Son of man, prophesy to the breath. Prophesy to the breath and say, Thus says the Lord God. Come, breath, from the four winds, and breathe into these dead ones, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded. And the breath entered them, and they came to life and stood up, a very great army. Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. They say, Our bones are dried up, and our hope is gone, we are all destroyed. Therefore, prophesy to them and say, Thus says the Lord God. My people, I will open your graves and bring you out of them, and bring you into the land of Israel. My people, I will open your graves and bring you out of them, and you will know that I am the Lord. I will put my Spirit in you, and you will live, and I will place you in your own land. You shall know that the Lord has spoken and accomplished this, declares the Lord. Ezekiel chapter 37 verses 1 to 14. Now, what remains in the fulfillment of the prophecy is the restoration of the North Korean church that had been destroyed. Even during the Japanese colonial period, the gospel was preached more actively in the North Korean region than in the South. 2/3 of the total number of Christians on the Korean Peninsula were believers in the North. For this reason, the North Korean church was sometimes referred to as the Jerusalem of the East. However, during the Korean War, it was ultimately completely destroyed, leaving not a single official church building behind. It was not until the late 1980s that the Kim Il-sung regime established the Bongsu Church in Pyongyang. However, this was established by North Korea to promote itself to the West, in conjunction with South Korea's hosting of the 1988 Seoul Olympics. Although they claim to be holding worship services, it is a place where one cannot even freely read a Bible. Even in the Soviet Union under Stalin, the Russian Orthodox Church was not eradicated. However, North Korea is the only country on earth where religious freedom has been completely eradicated. Instead, the idolization of Kim Il-sung has established itself as their sole religion. Even after Kim Il-sung's death, Kim Jong-il implemented the so-called rule by posthumous instructions, declaring, the leader of the North Korean people is only leader Kim Il-sung. The statement in Matthew chapter 24 verse 15, the abomination of desolation stood in the holy place, means. It refers precisely to the fact that Kim Il-sung himself was placed as an object of worship. In 1945, following the end of the Japanese colonial period, the Korean Peninsula was divided into North and South by the United States and the Soviet Union. Kim Il-sung, who was brought to power in North Korea by Stalin, annihilated all churches in the region, and ruled as a dictator until his death on July 8, 1994. From 1945 to 1994, Counting only by the number of years he ruled, it was exactly 49 years. A period called 7 weeks appears in Daniel 9 verse 25. If we break this down, 7 times 7 is 49, which means 49 years. Kim Il-sung also ruled for exactly 49 years before he died. Kim Jong-il was born on February 16, 1942, and died on December 17, 2011. Calculated using the Korean age system, which starts with the year of birth as 1 year old. He died at exactly 70 years old. The Soviet Union, established by Stalin in 1922, ceased to exist in December 1991. It disappeared after existing for exactly 70 years. Kim Jong-il also lived for 70 years, the same lifespan as the Soviet Union before he died. If you add the numbers of their names to Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, it amounts to exactly 666. As of 2026, Kim Jong-un, the grandson of Kim Il-sung, is ruling North Korea. It is to the extent that the North Korean church today consists of nothing but a heap of dry bones. Although there are underground churches, they are not even able to openly practice their faith. However, when the time comes, the dictator and oppressor will disappear through God's judgment. And the North Korean church, which had been dead, will also be resurrected. The text of the prophetic book clearly states, "The breath of life will enter into those who were dead, and they will live again." The Soviet Union, which persecuted the church and instilled fear of communism in the world, existed for 70 years, but has already vanished. Also, the two horns that ruled North Korea, Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, have already died. However, in North Korea, which is ruled by Kim Il-sung's grandson Kim Jong-un, the church has not yet been restored. Nevertheless, when the time comes, every prophecy that the dead church will rise again will be fulfilled without exception. The final remaining historical fulfillment of the Book of Revelation and the prophetic books is the restoration of the North Korean church. We know that time is near. Understanding that time correctly and preparing for it will be the greatest task currently facing the Korean church. In the next lecture, we will examine chapter 11, when is the end of the prophecy. It was the Bible History School.